what I have learned and unlearned the most is skip all perfectionism because it only harms you. It does not do any good to you and to what you want to achieve because you raise the bar way too high if you want to do it perfect.
Helen, welcome to the Creators for Change podcast.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, I'm too. Yeah.
We are also joined by Yanae here. Yanae, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Yanni. I'm a puppet, as you can see. And yeah, we are a team. If you invite Helen, you mostly get me too. Yeah, we don't always say that in the beginning, but it's mostly I want to join in too.
Wonderful. You two make a really great team. I want to ask you, Helen, what first inspired you to begin using puppets in your work to help children?
Yeah, it all started at my final year in my teacher training. Then I was in my final internship, and there was a child that didn't really opened up. And I felt there was more inside of him. I saw some signals I recognized. And for one of my assignments, I had created a puppet. So I was curious what will happen if that puppet appears. Is the child doing things differently, or what happens with a puppet? And that was the first time. And my first activity, I didn't have any experience with a puppet. I had never worked with a puppet before. So it was really embarrassing and really chaotic. And I thought it was a total mess. But I noticed that children saw it differently, and that particular boy came to me during the break and asked me, "Can I tell Doki, that was my puppet's name, can I tell him something?" And at that moment, I thought, okay, this didn't happen to me before. And after the lunch break, when children came back to school, there were all kinds of presents for Doki. One had made a drawing, another one had took a shoebox because now he had to sleep in my bag, so maybe he wanted a real bed. And yeah, that was the point that that puppet really made me curious because the whole energy was shifted. Every child was talking about Doki. So he made quite an impression, and I wanted to know why. So that was the beginning. For me, that was the beginning of of examining what a puppet could mean. So that's
Wow.
where it started.
Yeah, and that was 30 years ago.
30 years ago. Wow.
Yeah.
And Helen, you just knew right away that that was what you were meant to be doing. Some people listening, they're leaders, but they're not quite sure what their thing is yet. And so I love the quote by Steve Jobs that with all matters of the heart, you will know when you found it. And Helen, it was
Yeah,
very clear for you when you came across this path that this was what you were meant to be doing. Here we are
yeah.
30 years later. You have a successful YouTube channel, a business, you help all these children. Could you explain some of the transformations that you've helped not only parents and professionals to achieve, but especially children?
For children, a puppet is a friend. And I had to do a lot of trial and error with a puppet before I discovered what the real magic of a puppet is. And uh, what especially inspired me was the way that children are opening up to a puppet.
Yeah, they tell us much more than they tell you as an adult. Yeah, so if you can stay a friend as a puppet, because that is what a child expects from you as a puppet, and if you can stay a real friend, then they tell you way more, and it's much easier for you to learn the child. new skills and to ask him to involve in an activity or something. And what I do as a puppet, what I mean for a child, is that I can raise his self-awareness. I can help the child believe in itself more, and I can complement it more easily. I am a friend, so I can help a child to take some steps, some baby steps to, yeah, just try something with a boundary or something. So that is what we meant for children. And because of me, the puppet, it was more fun for most children to come to school, for example, and to be around friends, because if something happened, then I could interfere and I could ask, just ask as a friend can do, what exactly was happening here. And yeah, then we could solve it more easily. So the energy of a puppet is quite different than my energy. The puppet is not an educator. And by adding something like a puppet and add a third person in your play, in your work, you add something for the child that is very low threshold. And that can help the child, and we saw it happening time after time, that helps the child to just say what's on its mind, to just try. The puppet makes it way easier, and because of that, and the puppet and the puppet that does not have any judgment, it became easier for the child to try and to make mistakes. And if you make mistakes, then you learn. So that is what a puppet does. Yeah. So every parent and every educator, every teacher, everyone who works in youth care should have a puppet.
I
Yeah.
love that, and I agree with it. I currently, Helen, I'm 25 years old, but I have a very fond memory of being a child, and I do have experience with puppets, both in person. I even had my own Snappy the Turtle. He was a he was a turtle puppet.
Wow.
And I even watched Sesame Street, as many people I'm sure have. And I
Yeah, me
do
too.
remember that feeling that puppets created. It was a sense of safety. It was a sense of playfulness, creativity, and it's like it opened up this whole
Joy.
other
Yeah.
world. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear about you, Helen. Is there something particular in your own childhood that taught you about emotional expression, or did it primarily come when you were an adult and you had that experience?
No, I am an early child trauma victim, early childhood trauma victim myself. My trauma started the day I was born. I was born from a mother, a very young mother that, yeah, didn't want me. That was the first thing. And when I came out, I had a birthmark. I had a Port Weinstein, and she was so young, she couldn't accept that. And so there was rejection from the moment I was born. And the only way I could survive in her neighborhood was to adjust, just to be a lovable child. So I was just lovable. I did what I thought would help her love me a little. And I created my own world as a child. I had a grandmother who saw what was happening and tried to help me as much as she could. But I designed my own world. So I created my own stories. I had my I had my writing and my drawing, and I was always trying to find a way to express myself by not speaking out to, in my case, my mother, because my mother didn't like it if I was not happy. So a lot of signs I saw with children in my classroom, I recognized, and and now I know that everything that happened to me before I became a teacher has helped me to develop a kind of sensitivity, because what I did as a child was transforming into a chameleon. I could take every color you asked me. It was no problem for me. I just adjusted. I just, if you want to me to be happy, then I be happy. And with that other eye that a chameleon had, then I looked back. I looked after me, and that part could be very sad. But I learned not to show that. But these emotions she had.
Mm, wow.
And when I started using a puppet, and by having a lot of therapy too, I discovered that the pure child, the child I once was still intact. And now I know that that child is my voice.
Wow. I love that. And Helen, I just want to say that you perfectly embody a creator for change and the values and the mantras that we have. Because a creator for change, there's someone who went through difficult times, things weren't easy, but they found a way to rise from the ashes like a phoenix and to come from a place of love. Because a lot of people, when they rise from the ashes, the main motivation is fear, hatred, like just this negative energy. But you were able to heal from that, especially with puppets, to come from a place of love and put these children's first and their futures. So I just want to say that it's very admirable. I love what you're doing. And I have a question for you both. So, Creators for Change, we actually choose a philanthropic cause every year. And then this year, we are raising funds for NAMI, which is one of the biggest mental health institutions in the nation. So, I'm curious, Helen, how does your mission help improve mental health for the next generation of children? I know we covered that on the surface, but I want to hear even more how that can transform a child's life and help them to heal from wounds.
Yeah, I think that what a puppet especially made very useful for children with a trauma is that a puppet very easily can give a child the feeling that it's been seen, heard, and understood. Because a puppet, in the way I approach a puppet and the way I teach others to use a puppet, it's always a friend, and that friend doesn't have judgment. No, I'm just curious about the child. I just want to be friends and to hear why you did what you did, for example, or what you was thinking. And I don't care what your mother or your father or your teacher think. I just want to hear from you. And whatever you have done, I understand.
Mhm.
I understand. So you are always good as a child. It's always okay, and you always had a reason to do what you do, and that is what I help a child to understand, that there's nothing to be ashamed of. That you are okay as you are. That you are always good enough, and a way of that's a kind of my mantra. I always want children to feel understood and
Mm,
okay and good enough. All those things that she didn't feel as a child, that's in our main approach. You are always good as you are.
I love it. Now you got me really curious right now, Helen, because I've done my own research on the amount of trauma that happens in children. There's a lot that can happen within the family household, outside the family household. And so I'm curious, how do the two of you respond when a child opens up about something that they've been holding in, that they're hiding? Like, do you have any resources that you direct them to, or how do you just go about supporting them?
First, if a child opens up to us, mostly they open up to me, not to her, but to me. And then I ask them if they want to share it with her too, because she has more resources than I have. I am only a friend. And if the child doesn't want to share it with her,
Mhm.
then I can do a lot, but I can be a friend. So, and a friend and the friendship is very important, of course. And she, although she isn't really a part of the conversation, then she knows what is happening. She knows what's inside the child, so she can, and that's what I do too. I can let her say things that I think the child needs to know. And if the child really doesn't want to involve me, then there is no other way than just to be, for me to be with the child and just to be a good friend. But the next time I see the child, I will ask again, or I will come up with books that I think that can help, or with ways it can express itself better, or with maybe a telephone number of something who can really help. So
Mm.
that's what we do. We don't, the relationship between the child and the puppet is always number one, is always the most sacred thing, and we have to protect that, because if the child loses the puppet too, then yeah, then it's gone for us.
Yeah, and I would imagine, even though children are young, I would imagine that they really do appreciate that. And it's important to keep that trust with the child because if you break that trust, I imagine throughout their whole life,
Yeah,
they're going to have trust issues, not only with their friends,
yeah,
with their
with
partners,
everybody.
with everybody. So
Yeah,
you two go about that in a very conscious way, and I
yeah,
really, really admire that. So I want to transition, Helen, because I want to hear about how you get this message out there. That's a
mhm,
big part of being a creator for change is not only having this way to help other people, but having a vehicle to get it out there. Currently,
yeah,
we live in this digital world, and so digital world can be used for good and for bad. It could be used to help other people put out conscious content or to put out mindless content. So I'm curious to hear, how did you first start sharing your message online and what content types have helped you reach people with your message?
yeah. I stem from the era before social media. I started my business in 2004. And before that, I already had a website, because colleagues were very curious about what are you doing exactly with that puppet, and we want some information. Can you write something down? So I had created a website in 2002, I think, and after I finished my studies, one of my former mentors asked me to write an article for an educational magazine, and that was where it all started. That first article that became three articles, and then I had my website, and in 2004 I decided I have to create a business. This is what I really want to do, and so let's do it. And I started as an e-commerce entrepreneur, because nobody at that time, still, it is still a struggle, but at that time, nobody had thought about a puppet as an educational tool. Everybody saw a puppet as fun, a hobby, art.
theater, an act, but not as a tool for educators to use to help children grow and expand their possibilities. So it was an quite a journey to take to come to awareness, and there were not really a lot of high quality puppets in the market. So I decided, or better, my boyfriend decided that I had to start with e-commerce, that I had to start with selling puppets myself. So that's what I did. I created a web shop and I started creating content, and I started using the internet, what was quite new at that time. And we were one of the first e-commerce websites in the Netherlands. So it was all e-commerce. And how do you sell something? So I needed better pictures, and I decided that I needed flyers. So that was my first thing, that it wasn't digital at all, because most people found me in that early days by flyers. And I made postcards with nice pictures of puppets with my internet address on it. And when social media came, then I added social media too. So in 10 years time, I had done everything: websites, flyers, video, product videos. That's how I started on YouTube, with product videos, and and later on Facebook, Instagram, and more YouTube.
Yeah, that's when I said, and now I want to show what I exactly do with all those themes and all those topics that teachers can use a puppet for.
That was when YouTube came. At that moment, I realized, okay, I can use this to show how to work with a puppet. And when I started with that, it really went fast, because then people saw the effect of the puppet.
Yes, and then we could show activities that people can do themselves.
Hmm.
So I really embraced YouTube video, especially video. And um, yeah, that still is. I still embrace video as a way to show what a puppet can do. My videos now are different than they were then, because when I started with video, it was all about
Selling puppets and show, look how nice I am.
and now they are more about awareness and what value can a puppet have and how can you use it. So yeah, social media and video play a big role in what I do now and how I reach people.
Yeah, and how we make friends.
Love it. And I would imagine anyway that video is the most effective because not only can they see the puppet, but they could actually experience it, see how you
Yeah,
use it, you teach them how to use it. And so
yeah,
you've been in the game longer than I myself, so you've seen
yeah,
more evolution throughout time. And you mentioned something how things changed and you kind of adapted throughout it. So you kind of took it one step at a time, tried something, you saw how it went, and then maybe you tried a new approach or you pivoted your approach. That is the true spirit of an entrepreneur. Some people get so locked into doing it one way, but that one way could have been outdated. So it's really great that as these new platforms came, like YouTube and all the other ones, that you took advantage of that and you put your work out there to reach new people. I'm curious to hear when you started to post more videos and get your message out there, what surprised you the most about the way people responded with what the public was saying about your work?
yeah. What surprised me the most was the impact it had. For till then, till I started publishing, and even till before video, I had written a lot of articles in educational magazines, but I never heard someone respond to that. And when social media and YouTube came, then was the first time that I heard from people how it affected them and how it created a mind shift and how it helped them to do something with a puppet themselves. And before that, I just thought I am a foolish teacher that believes in something, and I always felt like a sort of accidental entrepreneur because I felt like a teacher. I have felt like a teacher for a long time. So I just did something with a puppet and never felt a real entrepreneur. And when social media came and when the responses on YouTube came, that was the first time that I felt, okay, I'm really making an impact. And that was really cool because if you know that, you can decide what is my next step. What is it that I want people to know? What is it that I want people to remember? And how can I help them take that next step?
Yeah. And it was very fun to make those videos. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, especially the Yane videos were very, very, very fun to make. And it was a lot of fun together with her. And I saw it in my eyes when I was recording a video. That moment it was very spontaneous, and every time I watched one of those videos, I thought, gee, I can see how much I enjoy this. Everything in me sparkled. Yeah, that's the puppet effect.
I love it. For the audience, could you please explain who your YouTube channel is for? Is it for the professionals, parents, or can we send children there?
Yeah, there are a lot of children too, because it are mostly the children who ask me, where have you bought that puppet, or I have that puppet too. There are also children who ask me. That's really, 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 really fun. I always feel very honored if I want to make a birthday a video for them to sing my birthday song because then they feel special. So that are the children who are watching our channel. But our channel is primarily made for adults. Yeah, not really for children, but we don't mind that children are watching the videos too.
Mhm.
Yeah, our video is mostly made to inspire people to start something with a puppet and to let them think, to create some awareness about what a puppet can mean and awareness about the reason why we don't use a puppet that much. Because, yeah, a lot of people, a lot of adults find it a bit awkward to use and to start using a puppet. And we do that for the wrong reasons. We feel awkward for the wrong reasons. We often think, I need a lot of technique before I can do something with a puppet. And the child thinks, I just want to connect with the puppet. I don't care how bad it is. So if you know that, you can try something. And that is always my intention. I want people just to try something. Try it. Just try it and see how your child responds. Because if you don't need all that technique, and I know there is not that much technique needed to connect, then you see a different side of your child, and you give your child the opportunity to open up, and you give yourself the opportunity to respond differently than you do as a parent or a teacher. So there are always more sides on that puppet coin, and all those sides are interesting and are things you can learn. You can learn from your child and you can learn from yourself. And yeah, you can help your child learn and you can help yourself to improve.
Yeah, so it's always good. It's always good to try something with a puppet.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. And I could imagine why at first some adults, some parents would feel awkward about it because it's not something that they're used to. But I think a big part of it is that they've lost touch with their own inner child and their own playfulness and creativity. So in your videos, Helen, I think you do a really great job at connecting with the parents and opening them up to these perspectives and just making them more aware. Because when I was even going into your work and on your website, on your YouTube, I just felt my mind being more open and aware to the possibilities. Now, I don't have children, but down the line, if I do, now I'm open to how puppets can be a really great tool to connect with them, to open them up, to open up that playfulness. I'm curious to hear
Yeah.
from you. So, if more people in the world became more emotionally present and more playful, what change do you think we would see in our communities? And I know this is a big question, but I'm really trying to think big here about the ripple effect that this can
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, I think if more adults would do that, they allow themselves to make mistakes again. Yeah, to get rid of perfectionism because you don't always do it perfect. And if you start using a puppet and open up more, then you don't mind that it isn't perfect anymore because then you go for the connection. I think that you allow yourself to be more you and less introverty, less perfect, less of everything and more human. I think that you think then that you are just a human, and that's the message you want to give your child too, don't you? For
Mhm.
me, that is something. I see a lot of parents do things that I think, if you really, is this really what you want to transfer to your child? My mother, and that's something that I learned, and I have forgiven her for everything that she has done to me, because I understand that she was a victim of her situation too. And her story doesn't have to be my story, but I can choose how to react and how to respond to others. I can choose what I want the children in my environment want to believe about themselves. And by thinking about that and by being aware that I can change my message, I expanded I expanded my whole world, and that made me a way more happier person because I am not a victim of anything. I can choose, and that's one of the things that I helped her with. Yeah, just because as you start playing with a puppet, you start connecting with your inner child again. And that's what happens. That's what I have seen in all the years I have given workshops and trainings live. I saw people came in, often presenting them that I am the director or I am the manager of, and they are all in their head. And when I started playing with them and gave them a puppet and let them play, then they changed. Then their cheeks became red. Then their eyes became to sparkle. Then their hair was messy. And every time they went at home, when they left, they were different persons. So they had connected something. And that's, I don't give, I don't give a lot of workshops anymore because I believe more now, and with all the online possibilities we have, I believe more in training. We have to see each other more often because otherwise it's a one-time experience. And what you have to do with all the things that you learn is you have to create a habit. Yeah, so you have to train it more than once. And then, if you can do that, then you can create a whole new. I really am convinced of that. Then you can raise a whole new generation of parents and professionals. Yeah, and then the communication with children can really shift.
Astounding. And I really do see a big picture right now. When I was first going into your work, my thoughts were, oh, this is mainly for the children, which I'm sure is many other people's impression, but it expands much far beyond that. Parents are a key factor, helping them unlock their playfulness, their healing,
Yeah,
expand their awareness. That trickles down to the children because that helps parents with all other areas of parenting. When the parent heals, when they're more playful, the child feels more safe, their mental health
exactly.
improves. And then what happens from there? They live a better life, they raise better children. And Helen, I think that this is really needed right now more than ever. I have a bunch of younger cousins above the age of like 10. It's very hard to connect with them. I ask them, how
Yeah,
are you doing? And they can't even hold a simple conversation because they haven't used social media and online for good. They've been
yeah.
glued to their screens. And so I think it's needed now more than ever. Do you have any comments about what's happening in the world now with our younger generation? And
Yeah, what I have seen, and COVID was one of the reasons that I think things really went wrong in quite a short time. That that children don't connect anymore, and a lot of parents never have learned how to connect with a child. For a lot of parents, a child is just a mini adult, so they don't make the shift to the world of experience of the child, and they react to them like they are a mini adults, like a mini them, and they expect things from a lot of they expect things from children that children are not ready for, or we didn't have teach them yet. And I think what is needed is to work both on the child as to work both, be open for the child, for the parent, but also for the teaching system and for the professional care, because in all those areas, yeah, people are missing the point. They are not really talking to children. They are too busy with the goals they want to achieve, and with strategies and with ways to come from A to B. And everything, for me, everything starts with real contact. And that is something we all can do. But we have to start at the beginning just by saying, hi, how are you? And not expecting a child to change in overnight or in just 15 minutes, but to make a conversation something that is fun. So that asks something from the questions you ask or the games you give children, you do together with children, and to be consistent in that. So to create, to decide that your child, that listening to your child, raising a child is something you really want. And I think what is needed that we feel it as a, a mutual responsibility. For I feel responsible, and yeah, probably you too. I don't have children myself, but I always have felt responsible for the children in my class, for the children in my neighborhood, for the children I saw, because I love them and I want them to be happy. So, what can I do to help your child? And that is something that I think the world needs to be more aware of. We are not loose islands. If we want our children to grow up as healthy adults, we need to work together and we need to say, okay, I can do this alone. Can you help me? Because in that, we give our children examples they can need themselves and stop being on our screen all the time.
Yeah, last a few weeks ago we spoke a boy and he couldn't talk about anything else than his game.
Wow. So how did you respond to that?
Yeah, I asked him what exactly he liked so much about his game. So I know the game now. And then I asked him, is there something else you like to do? And then he mentioned another game. And then I asked him, is there something else that you like besides your game? And then he said, no. And that's what for a lot of children, that's their truth. They are only into the games.
Yeah, yeah, and it's I know some people listening that sounds pretty scary. However, there's a reason why I always keep mentioning the name Creators for Change because I hope when you hear that, everyone, that you realize that you are a creator for change. Like Helen was
Yeah,
saying before, it all starts with that first step from starting from the beginning. So you have the choice every day to be a creator for change in your own life. And it always starts there in your own life. And then
yeah,
it expands from there from how can you create change in your community? How can you create change in the world? It's one step at a time. And whoever you are, I encourage you to start by creating that change in your own life and for the people around you. If you're a parent or even a professional who works with children right now, I would encourage you to check out some of Helen's videos, learn the skill of using puppets, and you don't need to be perfect. But it all just starts with imperfect action, getting
yeah,
comfortable, unleashing your playfulness. So that's my advice for you. And if you want to take it a step further, you can ask yourself, how can I create change in my community? Maybe for your neighbors, maybe for whoever lives around you. And then how could you create it in the world? And if you're curious how to do that, listen to the steps that Helen took. Of course, no one's going to directly copy her because everyone's situation is different. Everyone's on a different timeline, but we can model what's working. And Helen, you did a lot of really great practices as you were bringing this to life. And one of the biggest ones that I want to commend you for is just sticking with it because you knew
yeah.
this is what you were meant to do. Was it always easy to do things like learn e-commerce? No.
No,
Building
no,
websites.
no. It definitely was not easy. When I sold my web shop in 2019, because I wanted to relocate to the Dutch Caribbean. And after that, and that's now more than 5 years ago, it really was a struggle because then I had a new location. I had to learn a new language because I couldn't reach the Netherlands anymore. And I chose a new audience. So I had to start from scratch again. And that wasn't easy, but something in me always said it's worth it. Yes, and if she wanted to throw the towel into the ring, then I thought, okay, and what about me? I still have a story to tell. So if you don't do it, who will do it? And then always she said, okay, Anne, you are right. We have to do this together. So it wasn't always easy, but something in me always said, this is what you need to do. This is your path. This is what you are here for. And I really can't think of something else that I would rather do than this. So yeah, so if you are watching and you think, okay, I will try something, just reach out. I'm so happy to help you to take that first steps because
it really isn't that difficult. It is no rocket science. Everybody who is curious can do this.
Mhm.
yeah, and everybody can make a difference. And yeah, that's something that I always wanted. I wanted to make a difference in a child's life, like my grandmother made a difference in my life. And if that is everybody can do that. And that's so easy and so fulfilling. So just do
Yes.
that.
Yes, it is. And I love that you said that people can reach out to you because everyone, that can be a first step that many of you can take today, right now, to be a creator for change in your own life and for your children. So I will put Helen's links down below to her Facebook, her YouTube, and her website. If you ever want to reach out to me, you can because I help with a lot of the technical stuff with setting up a website and a funnel, getting clear on your offers and the whole YouTube content. But I want to end this, Helen, by getting some, like, a final takeaway message. I shared mine before of what I want the audience to walk away with, but this goes for the two of you. Do you have any last final takeaway messages for the viewers?
Yeah, what I have learned and what I have learned and unlearned the most is skip all perfectionism because it only harms you. It does not do any good to you and to what you want to achieve because you raise the bar way too high if you want to do it perfect. So skip perfectionism because it has hurt you and it will hurt your child. So skip it.
Yeah, just skip it. Fuck perfectionism. We don't do that anymore. It's so 1999.
Yeah, it's done.
hmm
Yeah.
Great final takeaway message. Hope it really sticks for everyone. So thank you everyone for watching. Let us know your biggest takeaway down below in the comments, whether you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. And we will see you for the next Creators for Change episode. Don't forget to follow Helen as well with the links down below. Thanks everyone for watching.